Is the light on? Are we on now? Hey guys, Jeff at Sports Card Investor released a video last night. I thought that it was really interesting. I'm going to go ahead and just dive right into this thing. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I really enjoy hearing commentary related to sports card topics, whether it be about cards or hobby stuff, businesses, whatever it is. I like to listen to all sorts of different opinions on this. So before I even get started, if you have a new YouTube channel or you're about to start one, please put the name of it down in the comment section below so that I can check it out and so others can check it out as well. No offense to the podcasters, but I am a visual learner. So please consider also putting it on YouTube. It's just easier for me too to just subscribe to stuff and just easily watch it as it comes through. I don't know if you're sitting on the toilet making the podcast, just do YouTube.
That was actually, oh my gosh! Are you kidding me?
A video of that? Did you take a video of that?
Yeah, I did.
All right, so a couple of months ago, I did a 2023 kind of a prediction video or kind of my thoughts on this. Maybe I'll put a link in the video description or a picture of it or something up here. And really at that point, I was looking at 2023 as being kind of more of the same, really kind of stagnant, kind of more flatness, not necessarily a nosedive down more, but kind of more of just flat kind of stagnation, if you will. And there's kind of just people on all sides of this thing. I listen to different YouTubers on, equities, on crypto, on all sorts of different finance topics. I haven't heard mega bullish. I've heard kind of, we might have kind of the soft landing type thing, or we're going to have a deep recession, depression. That's really the messaging. And the one thing that's really interesting too is 2022, the Fed raising rates, and not that that is everything when it comes to sports cards. There's so many different variables, but just the way that they did a complete 180 on going from negative rates to a fully positive federal fund rate. And it's just changed the whole dynamic, even just from sentiment. Everyone's just kind of like, there's a holding pattern, a little bit of tension, if you will. But honestly, like a lot of assets, even equities, have stayed pretty strong considering. I actually thought that, the markets, the stock markets would really take more of a hit than they have. So it's so funny because you can't predict really anything. Even if you have certain markers that look a certain way and you're like, oh, if this marker does this, then this happens. There's a lot of times too where the marker's doing that thing, but the other side isn't reacting the way that we think that it's going to react. So, like I said, I've seen a lot of kind of sentiment around kind of that soft landing where, the Fed kind of keeps maybe raising rates a little bit through the first part of next year or this year now, 2023, but then they kind of ease off of it. And so maybe we get some more kind of positive sentiment behind that. And then, of course, you also have people that are like, hey, we've got a big time recession coming. And so that's not going to have a positive impact on stuff. Jeff actually buffered his points at the very end of the video. This is a 28-minute video. So in the last few minutes of the video, he does talk about kind of macroeconomic effects. And the reason why I bring this up is because if you don't stay to the end, then you miss that part. And that's an important part because it kind of caveats everything that comes before it. He says like, hey, this is what I think is going to happen, but here's the stuff that could really screw that up. And it's basically the macro stuff that we talk about, that we all talk about, that we all think about. And those are important things to take into consideration. I still think that we have a little bit of a ways to go to get kind of to that reset part for sports cards, for a lot of sports cards. And we're talking in generalities here because here's the truth of it is there's going to be cards going up and down all over the place. Now, is there going to be stuff that's going like to the moon 10x? I don't know, but is there going to be stuff that's like inching up, inching down all over the place? Yeah, of course, just based on certain player performance. Speaking of player performance, I think that 2023, 2024 is going to be like the full reset of where seasons really have an impact on player cards. Because you've heard this over the last 12 months. Oh, Patrick Mahomes absolutely lighting it up, just looking like the MVP of the league, but his card prices haven't really done much, or they've kind of slid down a little bit further. Why is that? Well, it's because we've just been resetting. We've been resetting or correcting or whatever, however you want to say that, from the 2020 anomaly boom, that happened a couple of years ago. And so I think that though, when we get to this 2023-24 season, I think that's where it actually resets and guys can actually kind of, they have amazing performances or they have a great season and it does have bigger impacts than what we see today. There's kind of that stagnant, that flatness, or it's still kind of dropping down just because a lot of stuff absolutely went bananas over the last few years and we've talked that to death. I think the biggest part of the market that is going to be hot in 2023, or just the most transacted. I say hot, but really kind of like, what are the cards that are going to move the most? I personally think it's going to be lower end cards between 50 cents and 20 bucks, maybe 30 bucks or 50 bucks. But the reason why I say that is because you're moving more towards kind of the buyer's market. And so there's sellers that are in on certain cards they don't want to move off of, or they don't have to move off of them. So they're like, you know what? I'll just hold this until it goes back up. I actually like the stuff, so I'm not in a huge hurry to sell. I think there's a lot of people right now that they're just not in a huge hurry to sell for a variety of reasons. And so they're holding on to certain things. And then you also have the buyer's market where they want to get into those things, but the prices haven't come down to where they would actually go ahead and buy it. And then of course, we're thinking about macroeconomic stuff. So they're maybe not looking to make the big card purchase that they would have made 2 years ago. And so now you've got kind of more of the focus on, all right, what players do I like? I'm having more fun. I can buy $1 to $20 cards. And also kind of that flip game, I just think it gets diluted down to more of like that lower end stuff where you're buying a card for $1, you're selling it for $2.50. You buy it for $2, you sell it for $4, that sort of thing. And I think there's a lot of fun too. If you're just trying to have kind of the business aspect, of card values moving up and down. It doesn't have to be a $500 card going to $800 or a $1,000 card going to $1,300 or $1,500. It can also just be a $5 card that goes to $8 and you sell it and you're like, that's a victory, and that gives you kind of that rush of the flip. And I think that's probably what it more of was going back years and years ago. And then it just kind of escalated and evolved over the pandemic anomaly thing that happened. And then everything was going bonkers and everybody was able to flip all sorts of different price points. But I think we get back more to the lower end stuff, kind of that dollar bin stuff. If you actually look at what Ryan Card Collector 2 does, this is really a lot of what he does. He goes in, he buys lots of stuff, or he's digging through the dollar bin, the quarter bin, or whatever, and he's turning $1 into $2 over and over and over again. But as I stated in my video from a couple of months ago, I am way more optimistic on 2024. I know that seems like, wow, that's a whole nother year away. But not to say that cards go to the moon, but I just think that we've come to then a full reset. A year from now, this is just my guess, my prediction, is I think for a lot of cards, I think there will be kind of more of that full reset to where you can kind of see if there's some organic growth on a certain card or not based on, the variety of different factors, the unpredictableness of the sports card market. And so it's going to be really fun to watch. But like I said, seriously, if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, you like talking about cards, or just hobby stuff, business stuff, I really love the commentary aspect of it. If we go back 3 years when I was starting my channel, very, very little of the commentary stuff. And now you've got all sorts of different options out there. And like I said, when I was visiting with Cardboard Coaches, another great YouTube channel, a few weeks back, it's just all about getting different viewpoints on stuff. These are all opinions. These are all random people like myself that are just throwing opinions out into the universe. Some people agree and don't. Debate is always a good thing, I think, and it's kind of a fun way to go about life. If we all agreed on absolutely everything, the world would be a very boring place. So put the name of your YouTube channel down below. Don't put a link because sometimes YouTube will block a link coming through. It just gets it as spam or something, catches it as spam. But put the name of your YouTube channel in the comments below so that others can kind of see. I want to check out what you have to say, and I'm sure others do as well. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.